Okay, folks, so we've gone through that. Now I do my experiment and I want to create tables. Okay, data tables make scientists very, very happy. Okay, we perform the calculations that we need to, whether it's a statistical analysis, whether it's just raw data, exactly what we're looking for. And of course, we always want to identify possible sources of error. Okay, so diagrams, tables, and graphs are used by scientists mainly to, again, you should pause to answer the question. And the answer is to organize data. Okay. If I look here, this is the rate of respiration of sunfish. So I want to look at my data table. Okay. If you want to, you can graph it here. So according to my data, if I look up here, we notice, wow, at 23 degrees, I'm at 60, but then at 27 degrees, I am at 25. So I'm actually going to increase and then decrease. And the appropriate graph for this title is the effective temperature on the respiration in sunfish. That's actually what we're looking at. So then we need to draw our conclusions and state whether or not our hypothesis was supported. Okay, so if I look at my plain brown artificial snakes, there was an 84% of them were attacked, as opposed to only 16% of my colored ring snakes. So that does lend evidence to my hypothesis that the color does impact the rate of predation. Okay, the answer could have been unequivocally no. It could have been it has absolutely no impact on it. Diagram below, I have two setups. I want to know which of this is not valid. Guys, remember that nasty little knot. I mean, by this point in your academic career, you're used to them, but okay, and that's that all bacteria grow best in a solution of glucose. We're only looking at one bacterium here. We're looking at E. coli, and that's it. My data table below, okay, I look here and I'm saying, well, white pines can grow in acidic soil because there is no basic soil there, but we don't have age, okay, of trees. We do not have any data that is below 1,000 feet, and honestly, there is no indication that they grow best at higher elevations. Then we retest. In order for our science to be valid, it needs to be able to be replicated. It not only needs to be able to be replicated by us, it needs to be replicated by somebody else. Okay? A scientist tested a hypothesis. Which of these methodologies might result in this claim being questioned? Okay, so I'm going to have you pause here again and look and think. So it's this one where I only observed 4 deer. Here's the deal, guys. My 500, 200, 300 deer, yes, some are in capacity, some are in nature. The fact is I have a large enough pool in order to be gathering that from. You should always be wary of any scientific research that is very few number of participants. And then we communicate our results. In the end, it's about sharing our results with the scientific community. Okay, we've got to be able to get it out there. Make sure that it's being shared with others, and when we do so, we want to make sure that then others can replicate our experiment. You have a part of your paper that is always your methodology, and honestly, it's the easiest part of the paper to write because it's basically I added this to this and did this, and that's about it. It's really, there's no deductive reasoning or anything that goes into that part of the paper. So this is just a nice little flowchart of observation, question, my hypothesis. I make a prediction. I test it. Does the test support the hypothesis? We go back and we might make additional predictions, or we might just retest. If it does not support the hypothesis, we go back and we pose a new hypothesis. I just really like this happy little diagram here. I like the little dude, right? So we identify the problem, we form a hypothesis, we either test or we make observations, we analyze and organize our data. Do they support it? Listen, this little dude here is like graduate students everywhere, okay? No, yes, and then we go back through and we work through it, okay? So scientists build on what has been learned from earlier research. We really do pay a lot of attention to contemporary science. One of the gene I was working on in graduate school was HIC1, which stands for hypermethylated in cancer 1. And I'll explain hypermethylation at a later date when we discuss cancer. But it was really funny because as I'm going through this, like, one of the researchers, like, I knew when she got married because the papers went from Michelle Makos to Michelle Makos Wales. I was like, oh, she got married. I never even met the woman, but I was like, yay, I'm happy for her. Okay, both cooperation and competition characterize the scientific culture. I'm going to say that competition is a much greater characteristic than cooperation. I went into graduate school very naively thinking, oh, yay, scientists work together and it's always happy. And no, it's not. There is a lot of competition for grant funding. You want to be the first one to get it. People will scoop. If any of you guys watched the last season of The Big Bang Theory, they did a really fabulous job on it with the two guys that tried to steal Amy and Sheldon's Nobel Prize. Anyway, but we are constantly attempting to repeat the experiments of others. And part of this is competition, but a lot of it is, okay, I see this one paper that's come out and it yields results that would help with my hypothesis, but I'm going to make sure I get the same results before I spend a lot of time using this as a piece of evidence for where I'm going with my research. Now, difference between a theory and a hypothesis. You guys have heard this before. I'm going to beat it into your brains again, okay? A hypothesis is a singular thing, okay? If I eat this bean, my heart rate goes up. If I eat this bean, I feel more alert, okay? When I take and combine a whole bunch of theories together, or a whole bunch of hypotheses together that are integral to one theory, then I have a theory. We will discuss later all the steps that went into place to say that, yes, DNA and chromosomes, the chromosomal theory of inheritance, that DNA actually is what passes genetic material from parent to offspring. For decades, we thought that it was that proteins did this, and I'll explain why later. It wasn't a bad hypothesis, I'd like to point out. Okay, everything in science is a theory because as technology advances, as we have a better understanding of what's happening around us, sometimes we realize, wow, were we really wrong on something? Okay, but everything in science is a theory. You have a couple laws, the laws of thermodynamics, Newton's laws of motion, things like that. But everything else is pretty much a theory. You know, you have the theory of natural selection, you have the theory of evolution, you have the germ theory. Okay, we do put that caveat on there that they are theories and therefore are constantly evolving as we garner more information for it. For example, when I was growing up, there was controversy as to whether or not a virus was considered a living thing or not, and now it's pretty much been classified as a non-living thing. You know, and that plays into germ theory, and, you know, is it just living things that can make us ill? Can non-living things make us ill? Are they still germs? If they, you know, what exactly defines a germ? So there is a lot of information in that. And that is that. Oh, tell me. Fucking A.